52 and my email address, Linda MSCA. I was with the Missouri School Counselor Association back in the dark ages when I started getting it needed an email address. So that's why that has that in. So the Informative and Protective Services is the longest name of the committees, and so it goes by initials of IPS. And when I first started with MRTA as a member, every time I would go to something we'd hear about IPS, it would mostly be identity theft was really being hit hard. It is still a concern, but we currently are getting a little more of a focus in the informative part also of our title. You know, our job as IPS chairs is to get information out to our members and information about MRTA, to get information out to the public about the activities of MRTA in our local units and regions and all of that. And we're really hitting hard now on the use of social media and other means besides newspapers and things like that. So the goal is, of course, to help us have more enjoyable, protected but enjoyable lives as we go on, and protect our identities and our finances and all that good stuff. So the agenda, and actually in your unit president packet on page 40 is our actual goals and everything, and those are also on the website. And when you want to find out anything about IPS, if you go to the website, go to the committees tab and go down, and each of the committees is listed, and under IPS it would have that formal list of our goals and objectives, and also has links to a lot of other things, resources that we've come up with in the past, and anything new will be linked into that website. So our basic agenda, you know, we've got goals and duties. We've got the what's and the hows, really, I consider. And as we go into strategic planning, that kind of becomes a part of what we'll be doing too. We're trying to help increase membership by promoting the activities of the organization. If other people know what we're doing, what we're about, and see the value and importance of it, they're more likely to want to become members. And we've traditionally used local media, the local newspapers, and those kinds of things, but our newer retirees, or soon-to-be retirees, are much more entrenched in the social media world, the computerized world, and things like that. So we have to bridge that gap. And there's value still in having articles in the local newspapers, to have articles if your school district has any newsletters or anything like that, to have pictures posted on the school's web pages if you do things with the school system, but also to have your own presence. Do any of you have a unit Facebook page? Okay. All right. If you have a unit Facebook page, that's an excellent place to post things, and if you connect it with MRTA and that, all of that, then we can post like the things that Sarah has posted during this meeting. I have already linked on our unit's Facebook page, and so they've popped up, so that even if they haven't liked the MRTA Facebook page directly, although I don't know why they wouldn't, it will pop up on our page, and they can see that information, see those photographs, and those kinds of things as well. And so we're trying to use the media more. We're trying to promote things a lot more. So how are we doing that? We're doing things. We're trying to get committee chairs. But do all of you have a committee chair in your unit for IPS?
Yeah.
Because I have found some local units do not have IPS chairs. And before I was appointed as the state chair, I've been for a couple of years our Region 3 committee chair for IPS. And my local unit's IPS chair as well. But I have found in communicating with my region that we have a number of units that do not have IPS chairs, so I don't have a contact with those units. So what I'm doing there is, if I have a viable email address for the unit presidents, I'm making contact directly to those presidents and giving that information to them to hopefully disseminate with their people, their members, so that that information gets to all the members. We have occasionally had some unit presidents who don't have a viable email address, and that has been an issue because it's hard to get information out to them. So if you're appointing an IPS chair, it's encouraged, if you have a choice, to have someone who has some background or ability to use social media and things like that, because that will enable them to be easier for them to facilitate getting information out. So that's definitely something to really consider if you've got a couple of different people in mind or whatever. Sometimes, though, the hard part is getting someone to be willing to take a position. How many of you had that trouble? Yeah, and so the thing is, you know, every position is vital. Every committee is important, or we wouldn't be having them. You know, a lot of times, at least in the past, I've seen people, they're trying to fill the slots on their list of committee appointments and officers and those kinds of things, and they say, would you be willing to do this? They really don't do anything. And well, that's not a good selling point. That's a terrible selling point, you know, because if they're not really doing anything, why in the heck do we have them, you know? So I think in the past, that's been something that I think this committee was kind of lumped under that, and that's definitely not true, and it's becoming even less true, because getting the word out, getting that communication out there is more and more and more important. And the quickest way to do it is to put an email out there, or to put something out on your Facebook page or whatever. So those of you who have a Facebook page for your unit, are those pages public, or are they just members only kinds of pages? How many of you have members only page?
I'm sure, I think it's members only.
Okay. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. Now, I'm in Region 3, and my unit is Lewis County. And Lewis County is, if you go up to the top corner of the state, where Iowa and Illinois and Missouri come together, well, we're not there. We're just right below there. That's Clark County, we're Lewis County, just right under that. We're straight up the river from Hannibal. My people, I've got the computer people and the totally non-computer people, and so they were really hesitant. It took me several tries to get them to agree that we could have a unit Facebook page. They were very hesitant about it. It was, well, you put our information out there, and is, you know, you want to make this public, but what if we do members only? Well, if we do members only, then you can't share that information out to other people. And if you do it as public, then anyone can see it, yes, but that's what we want. That's our goal, is to get it out there.
Can I say something about that too? I think it's great for if you're a unit leader, for your unit, all of your unit leaders, all of your officers to be in one of those private groups, because you guys can share documents in those. They're great for a lot of things. But as far as like for your unit's Facebook page, I would really strongly suggest you have a public page. I mean, it's just, if people are trying to find out about you, they can't see anything you're sharing in a private one. So, I mean, just my 2 bits.
And then also, then another plus with that too, is if we put something up there and I tag, like when we had someone became a region distinguished retiree, and we put the photo up, and we tag that person in the photo, then anyone who is friends with that person on Facebook is going to get a notice about that person being tagged, and they'll look, and then that draws people in. That draws in your other colleagues, your former colleagues, and friends and neighbors, and all those kinds of things, and so that gets it out there to a lot more people. Now, some of them may be out, like, totally not anything to do with retired teachers or whatever, but that's okay. An awareness of who we are and what we're doing and all of that kind of thing. So, don't be afraid to put it out there. And like Sarah said, it is good to have a private group for your officers or for, intercommunication. There's nothing wrong with that. But then there's also, a really good thing about having it out there, because we've got, people in the school district, patrons of the school district, things like that, that also can see that information then, and hopefully some of them that will be future retirees, then will just realize that that's an important group and want to be a part of it. Let's see, what was the other thing that just crossed my mind? Went right across the street. We have members who don't own a computer, don't want to own a computer, they don't even like to text. And those are a little harder to reach. And when we want to send out by email an agenda, when we want to just send out a meeting notice, do things like that, kind of makes it a little more difficult. And mail may or may not get there, and it definitely is not going to get there very quickly. And if you're elsewhere, it's not going to connect with you. Just like an email, well, because you can check your email regardless where you are, but your mail is going to come to your address, your post office box, or your house. And so we have some people who they have no idea about technology. They don't want to. They've chosen not to. And so how do you communicate with those people? Well, we've got, bless their hearts, in the different little towns around us, we've got people that have kind of like adopted one of those as a buddy, and they will print out and take over the email or whatever it is and make sure that they know what's going on. If we have the time, we send things out by mail. But we've got the buddy system, and for some of, for some of our people, it works. So that's, you just have to be creative about getting the word out. So we do have that buddy system going with the ones who are not tech savvy or don't want to be, and some of those are not necessarily the oldest members either. Some of them are relatively young, but they just have no idea about technology because they choose not to. So,
How do you publicize that you have a web page or whatever we have one.
Well, you can email out a link. You can have a copy of that link and put it in an email and send that email out to your members. And same way with the web page.
But for the public, you say if it's a public one, if they're going to have, you want people to have access to the information about your activities and your units, good things. How do you make it known to the public that this is available on this particular site?
Well, that's a good question. One thing you can do is you can post your website address or your Facebook page on things. Like a lot of times you'll get a flyer in the mail, or you'll see a flyer hanging up somewhere in the grocery store or whatever, and it'll say like us on Facebook, and it'll have the actual name of that organization. And so if they want to, then they could, like me, if I want, I take a picture of it, take it home, and I'll, look it up, or I'll put it in my phone right there. But, not a lot of units have web pages. Some do.
Yeah, not very many. I will say this too. If you want ever, just call me and I will send it to everybody who lives in your area. I'm happy to do that. But on our website currently, there is a list. If you go to our website and you go to region, I think, there's a list. There's a region map, and you can click on your region, and you can click on each unit, and it lists. If you have a website or a Facebook page and I know about it, it's on there. So that's another thing.
But we've got basically two identities in the IPS committee. We've got informative and we've got protective. And the protective part is, getting the word out, trying to let people know about some of the scams, some of the ways to avoid scams, how to, like hover over that email address to make sure what, it might say. If I got an email, actually I have gotten an email that said it was from my region VP, but the title of that, the subject of that email is like, she didn't send that. And I hovered over it, and it's faking as if it's her sending it, but it's really some scammer or whatever sending out an email. So I definitely don't want to click on that. So if you're ever in doubt, hover over it, look at it, see what it really says. If it ends in like .uk or .ru or
read what the email address actually says, because Morgan in our office got an email from me the other day that said, I'm in a meeting, please don't call me, but I need your help. But the email address was totally wrong. And I mean, she knew it wasn't me because I was right there. But also, I mean, the email, it looked like it came from me, but if you read the email address, it was completely the wrong email address.
And I've had that happen a number of times. So, be careful about that. Or if you get something that looks like it's from your insurance company, I get like Liberty Mutual or, whatever, and it's like, or your mortgage company saying, we can reduce your mortgage rate or whatever. I haven't had a mortgage in like 10 years. So, it's like, so some of those are going to be fake, but, just how to be careful and how to do things like that. So we try to put links up on the webpage for MRTA. We can send those out by email. I send stuff like that out. I try to at least once a quarter contact my IPS chairs in the regions and give them things that they're hopefully sending out to the individuals. So hopefully that's part of the protective part. And then the informative is letting people know about that, and as well as letting people know about our organization and what we're doing. So it's time for me to go, but if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. And anybody else, there is a book called Facebook for Seniors, and we're trying to find out some information about
Yeah,
that.
I'm pretty sure that I can get those for free from NRTA, so I'm gonna try and get some out. But also, if I kind of think you guys can go, if I find the website, I think you can order them for yourselves, so I'll send out a follow-up email after the meeting.
But it's a really good resource